So many of you have been asking me for a reading list, and I am flattered, but I just want to say, why are you doing this to yourself? If there's anything we have learned in the past 10 years is that knowledge doesn't matter that much on the day-to-day, and it will just lead to deeper and deeper frustration. People are not logical creatures, nor are groups, nor are our leaders. So you're going to learn more. And for what? So you can be more annoyed by people who don't know and they don't care. And yes, probably these know-nothings will have power over you, whether it's in the HR department or the homeowners association or Congress. These confident midwits who play the game will rise to power, and smart people who do not play the game just will not. They'll be sidelined, and there's nothing we can do about it, and because this world is essentially illogical. I said it before, and it stands repeating. But you have asked me and I have answered. So I'm going to give you this reading list because this place, this comment section, this channel is the place for your nerdy nonsense and my nerdy nonsense too. So don't bother your friends and family with this. Talk to them about the weather, talk to them about recipes or about landscaping tips. You save your antisocial nerd talk for this comment section. And if you do, you will see your social life flourish. People do not want to be reminded that you are smarter than them because they're afraid you're going to trick them out of their bonbons. Also note, please do not use this information to trick simple people out of their bonbons. It is mean. Buy your own bonbons at Trader Joe's. You know to go to Trader Joe's for dessert and share your bonbons with those people. You'll actually be a lot happier. It's just my little bit of advice, okay? Without further ado, here is your short reading list that will help you understand the world better. I promise you. And if it doesn't, I'll buy you a Coke. Okay. The first book that everybody must read is A History of Knowledge by Charles Van Doran. I did a video on this book. Please go back and check out that video. Yes, Charles Van Doran. He was the quiz show guy. And yes, his reputation was smeared by that controversy. Good movie too. Check that out. It's a real shame because he was such a brilliant man and he had a lot to add to the collective consciousness, and he did with this book. He edited the Encyclopedia Britannica for many years, decades even. The history of knowledge is basically about what humans know and how we know it. We don't know everything, and our knowledge will grow and adapt, but we cannot dismiss all that people have learned in the history as mythology or sweet lies, because there is a process to gaining and critiquing new information that our greatest minds, our scientists, our philosophers have been doing their whole lives. It's not something you can just dismiss outright, like humans don't know anything. But bear in mind that science keeps evolving. What is true today is not fixed. It'd be a different truth later on. And we're not going to know before we die. So just accept that we're not going to have all of the knowledge, and that doesn't mean that we can't have any of the knowledge. So read this book, History of Knowledge, #1 recommendation. Now, another book I did a video about is Amusing Ourselves to Death. Amusing Ourselves to Death. I actually bought a copy for all my friends and family. This is by Neil Postman. Now, if you want to understand the essential neuroses of the American mind, it is in this book. The premise is that Americans cannot understand information outside of the context of amusement, of entertainment. Right now, this video, it's informative, I hope, but it's also amusing. Straight information is hard for us to digest. Have you ever read a math textbook or congressional minutes or blueprints? Yeah, it's hard. Straight information is hard. And I'm with you. Forget all that noise. Make me laugh. But it really is bread and circuses. It's just at a deeper level. Even our elections are some form of amusement, but deeper, of course, in the NFL or the NBA. Not quite as deep as wrestling. Very little that the American people do is actually not for amusement or entertainment. Now, Amusing Ourselves to Death, this book came out before I was even born. So it's the water in which I swim. I can't even see it. So I apologize for falling into that amusement trap with my videos. But also the flip side to this mindset is that Americans have a subtle joy in our actions. We're kind of playful. And I'm sure Europeans resent us for this sort of like childishness. But Europeans think they're don't stink. Come on, let's be serious here. They always have a lot to say about Americans until there's a horde on their borders. And then, oh, we love the Americans. Please give us your fighter jets and open up a Western front, please. So every single time. Just because we're silly in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean that we're bad people. It just means that we like to laugh a little bit. No joke, we are a country that can't stop playing. We can't stop playing. We can't stop cutting up. Little clowns and children run this place. It's unfortunate, but it's also kind of funny. I thought we would grow up one day, but you see that the teacher's lounge is very similar to the high school cafeteria, and our politicians and our leaders are just as bad because they're fighting on Twitter right now. So amusing ourselves to death. It was really prescient. Check out that video I did too. So I guess you don't actually have to read the book. You could just watch the video. And that's literally amusing ourselves to death, because you could read this short book that warns you about the fundamental flaws in our thinking and how you could help your people. It really is life and death, but it's a book. So did they make a movie? Yeah, they made a movie. All right, we'll do that. Why would I read this book? Just watch the video. That's ridiculous. Anyway, next up is Winners Take All, The Elite Charade of Changing the World. This is by Anand. Giridharadas. Oof. I'm sorry about your name. I'm so sorry about your name. I butchered it. You have a beautiful name. Anand Giridharadas. Okay. I'm so embarrassed. So embarrassed about how I pronounced that. I got to take a minute. No. This book came out in 2018, but it really does hold up for 2024 now. And the premise for this book, the premise is that the elites advertise their business ventures as news predictions for the future, basically inevitable. Go along with what we want because it's going to happen anyway. Now, some of our elite are just overly optimistic, but some of them are downright scam artists. You remember Theranos, that new blood test that would change the world, and she really just wanted to get more investments. Now, people think that con artists, they're going to be easy to spot. They're going to be selling snake oil. But no, a lot of them are wearing Adidas and they're pretty cool and they're giving TED Talks. So that's what this video that's what this book kind of breaks down. Just think about how many stories you read, these tech stories you read from 2010 about how different the world would be in 2020. And then what were we actually doing in 2020? We're arguing about what a woman was and setting fire to random things and trying to avoid our neighbors because they might have cooties. So just think about it. The capital of the tech world is San Francisco, and San Francisco is a trash can right now. San Francisco is the best that man has to offer, like humanity has to offer, and it is an actual trash can. So keep that in mind about the elites. That should teach us some humility about the human race. Our race, we're all humans. Isn't that kind of beautiful? We're all kind of goofy too. So because I mentioned this book, I feel I have to give an honorable mention to Steven Pinker's Better Angels of Our Nature. The premise of that book is that over time, the quality of life is actually improving. People are getting smarter. Can you even imagine a world where the average intelligence is lower than it is now? The level of suffering and frustration going back just a few decades is just crazy to think about. People were somehow worse than they are now. As bad as people are, you still have to remind yourself that they used to be worse. The bar is really that low. Now, it's a comedy, and of course, our creator is the funniest being to have ever lived. Now, Better Angels was published in 2011, and that's before the reversal of the Flynn effects became apparent and before we saw the full effects of social media on these young minds. So take that with a grain of salt. Still, we live in a better time now than just about any of our ancestors did. So those annoying con man elites actually do get things right enough for the trend of quality of life to track up. Or at least they have in the past. We'll see how these next few years kind of shake out. Now, I know also a book that I know you've already read, but I just have to tell you about just to remind you in case you somehow missed it, is Hate Inc. Now, I don't defend Matt Taibbi. I know he's had some messy Russia takes recently, and I don't know how that's going to work out, but it's not fair to dismiss everything that he's done just because people have said he's controversial these past few years, because he actually has a lot of great things to say and has had a full career. And he wrote this great book, and he's a journalist, so he knows the journalism game. And it basically tells a story of how the media thrives on hate. If it bleeds, it leads. Remember, that's why journalists really are kind of bottom feeders, and they'll do anything for attention. They have not always been that way, but newspapers, they used to take losses and people used to pay for newspapers. So it kind of evened itself out. But now the way the system is set up, journalists and newspapers have to get people's attention, get their eye on the page. So these partisan fights, this hate is actually what keeps people tuning in. So it's kind of off topic, but definitely get Hate Inc. if you don't know how the system works and you don't know that you're just fuel for a system of hate. We are all just fuel for a system of hate if we're indulging in most of this journalism. It's really sad. I'm sorry, we live in that world. Okay, so those books, A History of Knowledge, Amusing Ourselves to Death, Winners Take All, The Better Angels of Our Nature, and Hate Inc. Those should give you some small idea of where you are in the world as a human in 2024, especially as an American with Hate Inc. You are part of humanity. Now we take a step back and we see the playing field on which humans are playing, the field on which we are on, outside of our minds, because we get so caught up in society, in our minds, in the black iron prison, that we forget that we are part of a physical, natural world. And we still have to obey the laws of nature in that natural world, and we can understand them better. My favorite book of all time, literally all time, is Chaos by James Gleik. Now, this seems a bit out of left field, but kind of bear with me. Chaos is about the science of chaos, which is nonlinear systems, or systems that are unpredictable. So people think that chaos and order are opposites, but they're really not, because there is an order in chaos. We just can't predict the next step, but we can identify the previous step. Like, okay, you're in a crazy situation, right? And you're like, oh my God, how did I get here? Well, how you got here was you got into the car when your messy friend called, and now you're on Code Blue Cam looking dumb. That's how you got here. You can trace the steps. That is chaos. Your messy friend is chaos in your life. Please cut her loose until she sobers up. That's all I'm saying. You don't want to be on Code Blue Cam. That's chaos. That's different from linear systems. Linear systems are ordered. Chaos is nonlinear. Think of an ordered situation, like the situation you're in. You're in graduation and you're like, oh, how did I get here? And you think, oh, I went to every class and I studied and I turned in my work on time. That is order. So that's chaos versus order in our lives or in the social sciences. But the science of chaos also encompasses the natural sciences. So the smoke from the blunt that you hit with your messy friend before y'all acted up, the way it dispersed into the air, that's chaos, okay? The way the clouds form and decide if it's going to rain on your graduation day or if it's not going to rain on your graduation day, that is also chaos. But how long it will take you to drive to graduation going at a steady speed, that's order. That's a linear system. That's one of those questions they put on the SATs. So this world is very complicated, basically. So this book over here, this book is kind of dense. But so what? You know, you don't have to read it. You don't have to read anything at all. You can sit on the couch and eat Taco Bell and scroll TikTok. My husband said that. He's like, oh my God, it's too dense. I couldn't really enjoy it. I couldn't really get into it. And I'm like, enjoy? Why would you enjoy anything? I get glimpses of joy every few months, just like a little spark of joy every once in a while. I'm not sitting and stewing in joy all the time. Like, enjoy. But I married him and we have a very wonderful life together. And this is what I mean. You shouldn't burden your friends with these ideas. People think that, like, if they're my friends in real life, you know, we're going to talk about all these deep philosophical things. But no, we will absolutely not. We will discuss. This is what we will discuss. We will discuss how much a dozen eggs are and the best way to care for curly hair. Okay, if you got tips, I want to hear them. And can you believe that they want $6 a dozen for brown eggs now? But I guess that's what it cost. But if I told my grandma who was passed that they were asking for $6 for brown eggs, she would go nuts. She would be mortified. See, this is what I mean. Big ideas, but you don't have to be that person is all up in your head. I envy normal people. I really do envy normal people. Don't you think about it sometimes? Like, what if I just stopped thinking about anything? What if I just only had Pinterest as my social media? Wouldn't I be a much happier person? Yo, these basic bitches are winning in life. That is not the video for this. This is a reading list for people who are definitely not basic bitches. But I just want to say these basic bitches are winning. I'm jealous. Of course, getting back to topic, I cannot mention chaos. I literally cannot mention chaos without also pointing out that randomness is a major factor in our lives. And you're like, oh, Maya, isn't randomness chaos? No, because randomness is random. Chaos isn't random. See, we can Monday morning quarterback chaos, but we can't do that for randomness. Now, for my European viewers, I apologize. We're Americans, and I have to describe the world in football terms because the American mind is full of entertainment and cannot understand life outside of entertainment and football references. As I explained earlier in this video with amusing ourselves to death, you see that's a callback. Monday morning quarterbacking is basically referring to hindsight, and hindsight is 2020. So where you're in the moment, it's really difficult to find out what the next step is, what the right course of action is. But later on, you can say, oh, she shoulda, coulda, woulda. But did you though? Think about it. So that's looking back versus making decisions from the moment. Okay, remember I did that video on the Drunkard's Walk, how randomness rules our lives? This is by Leonard Mlodinow. Math. So this is that video is from 2021, where there was a lot of messed up random things happening in the community. And sometimes shit happens. It just does. The asteroid hits your house and not in the middle of the ocean. The genetic mutation happens to you and not your cousin or to a stranger. You know, it's not your fault. You are not being punished. You did not displease a minor god. But you may have displeased a minor god, in which case that would be chaos and not randomness. But you won't know if you did or not. So don't even worry about it. You've got to weigh how much you really want to think about magic. You know, how much you want that to factor into your thinking. And if you can quantify tragedy into a mathematical formula, so just don't do it. You didn't displease a minor god. Don't try to figure out how all this gets together and you waste all this time all up in your head. You waste years of your life. This is a trap that a lot of great minds fall into, and I do not recommend it. Are you competing for a Nobel Prize? No. You're not. So just read the books, take in the information, and have a mimosa. It's okay. Now, if you buy me a mimosa, I will discuss randomness with you. I know I said I just wanted to be a simple, basic bitch and go on Pinterest, but I will discuss randomness with you for a mimosa. I will discuss randomness with you for a mimosa, but I will not do it sober. Anyway, I just had a super high thought. I'm just going to ask a question. You can answer it as you see fit in the comment section, but I just thought of it. Do you think we will ever have enough computing power to put all the information into some sort of program, maybe AI program, and find if there is some sort of order in random events? Like if you can actually quantify karma within this lifetime? I know. It's the highest question ever. They say we cannot know the mind of God, but could the AI be smart enough? You know, if we get to quantum computing and we have all of the storage, could that be smart enough? Now, maybe God speaks to us through instinct, or instincts are just a better way to calculate the odds. And we discussed that in the gut feelings video. Gut Feelings, The Intelligence of the Unconscious by Gerd Gigerenzer. Definitely check that video out. It is a must watch for navigating our chaotic and uncertain world. I know it got a little nerdy there for a second. I'm sorry. But you must also remember, when speaking of randomness and chaos and disorder, that good things happen randomly too. Okay? Never forget that good things happen from chaos and order. So let's say you miss your train and on the next train is your soulmate, the love of your life, or your numbers hit the lotto. That's randomness. Or that genetic mutation makes you more adaptable to the cold. This world is actually such a beautiful place. So when you finish your book, if you finish your stack of books, just go outside and enjoy it. Even people, I know people are frustrating, but that elite dreamer who promises great things, he or she might actually deliver. And that amusing infotainment video that you watch, it might make you a better person. So you're amusing yourself to life, not amusing yourself to death. And that quiz show movie, that might lead you to one of the most underrated books of the 20th century. So all of this is just a beautiful dance. So I wish you all your best with your reading. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. I very much appreciate it. And I will also make more reading list videos. But I mean, right now, I just gave you a whole list. So when you finish what I've just suggested for you, come back to this comment section and tell me to make the next list. You know, I'm just fussing around, so I just need a reminder. You just have to remind me, Maya, make another list. I finished all those books. Thank you very much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.